Okay, we need to wrap up, and I thought we would do so by at least letting, at the time we have, a couple of us tell a nice story of a book selling, representing somebody for a while, and watching them sort of break through. So we'll just let a couple people talk until we run out of time.
Sure, I'll tell my quick conference story, just to let you guys know that these conferences really are great. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the statistics from this one in particular, but we do find a lot of our clients at conferences. We love talking to you guys. Just as an example, about 2 years ago, I met a client at a conference in Las Vegas who was pitching me a fantasy novel, which I didn't do at the time. And she pitched to me and said, oh, that all sounds lovely, but this isn't really up my alley. Sorry, it's not for me. And she's like, oh, it's too bad. You know, I'm really drawn to writing fantasy because my parents were gypsies, and I grew up a gypsy in Russia. And I was like, wait a minute, stop there. Like, that is her story. But, and it so happened I'd always wanted to do a book called American Gypsy, and we started talking, and she had this incredible life story, moved to Hollywood when she was 15, lived in the slums, knew no English, and her father became an exorcist and tried to train her. And it was like unbelievable. I'm like, why are you writing fantasy novels? Your life is a fantasy novel. So I sold her book to FSG over the summer for Ashlock and Peru. And that just came from a conversation we had. I mean, it wasn't the book she was pitching to me, but we had that face-to-face, and she might never have been able to tell her story if she hadn't attended that conference.
When does that come out? I really want to read it.
It comes out, it'll be out probably in fall 2010.
And did you get your title?
And I did, and now I'm a little, well, American Gypsy, and if any of you will know someone like this, you can send them my way. I really wanted to do a book about a child of hippies. I like someone who follows the Grateful Dead or something. I know these kids exist who grow up and they go to these shows and they caravans. And I always thought it would make for a great book if you could find one who could really write and look back on it with this sort of insight as an adult. And I was going to call it American Gypsy, but then I met a real gypsy and I used my title. So, and if you know one, by all means, speak to me.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, I have really briefly two of them. I have a client who queried and was rejected by 200 agents before I signed her and sold her book. So I was very happy. She has kind of a sort of sad memoir about her childhood. Some of those are really hard to sell, and we got a UK deal, and now she has over interest. So she's kind of a Mackenzie Phillips story. So I was really happy to be able to make that happen for her. And then my other one is I have an author who's in her 50s who'd been self-publishing nonfiction on diabetes and had been writing kind of like Prentice Hall and for dummies books on like software, very technical sort of computer books, but who had always wanted to write historical romance, really historically accurate, sexy romance. And had been writing it all her life, but had never really, or had reached out a couple of times to agents and publishers and had been turned down. And this summer I got her a 3-book deal. It's the first 3 books of a 12-book series with an astrology theme. So the first book, the hero is a Leo. In the second book, the hero is a Scorpio, etc. They're all like dukes and viscounts and whatever. And that's coming out for Avon. The first book is called Lord Lightning and is coming out next summer.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have a triumph over adversity story. I have a client, young guy, he's 23, really good writer, loves urban fantasy, loves YA books. They always wanted to read something that represented him, and he's a gay man. And he'd never read anything in urban fantasy with, where there was a gay romance, so he wrote one. And I remember when I first read this manuscript, I was actually fighting with another agent over repping him, which was always a good sign. But I got to this one scene where these 2 characters are like pressed against each other in a tree, and there's like wolves and stuff surrounding the tree and trying to kill them. And he had written such a great scene where they didn't kiss, but they almost kissed. I remember screaming, "Just kiss him already!" And and I had to call him, and I'm like, "That's it. That you have to I have to have this book." And 18 months I shopped that book. And editors loved it, except that they wanted to change one of the characters to a girl. And
they wrote back like
yeah.
The greatest love story.
And I got some of the best rejection letters I've ever seen. It's an incredibly good book. Until Brian Ferry at Flux read it, and he's like, "Don't show this to anybody else. I have to have this book." And he fought so hard for this book because it touched something in him as well. And he bought it, 2-book deal, and it will be coming out next fall. So I'm very excited about that. 18 months. It can take a really long time to sell your book. So I was telling this earlier, develop a hobby. Once you've got an agent and they put your book out on submission, leave them alone.
Take up knitting.
Take up knitting. Leave us
Sell it.
alone. Leave us alone. It can take a really long time. The other quick thing I'm going to say is to reiterate the importance of these conferences. Lisa over here, who's sitting in the front, didn't have an agent yesterday. Today she does.
Now that everyone is, I think, in the room, are all the volunteers around?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we have a round of applause?